I know that there's people joining us from a lot of different countries on this one, which is really great. We've got some old impact runners involved here, and some, quite a few familiar and unfamiliar names. So brilliant that so many people have been able to join us to hear more about Jordan, which is our first new destination, first new race that we've launched in 3 years. We launched it last October, and we plan for it to be happening this May. Obviously, that didn't happen, but all the plans are still in place. And actually, we've been able to take a chance to make some pretty amazing changes for the race for this year coming. That extra bit of time should mean that we put together something even more spectacular. So I see there's also quite a few new names on the call here. So by way of introduction, my name is Nick. I am the founder of Impact Marathon Series, and I've been doing this now for 5 years, putting on races all over the globe that are intimately linked with the communities and creating an experience that takes people to a totally different place, zooms people out from the world that they live in, and takes us to communities all over the world where we spend time working in the community, living in the community, and at the end of the week, all running together as one. It has been the most amazing and incredible journey over these 5 years, and this little pause in time has been incredibly valuable for us as an organization to make some changes that we would never normally get to make as we build stuff on the go. And I'm massively excited to get back out there and get working again. But for now, we've been loving these webinars. We've seen lots of people engaging on the webinars, lots of people registering for the race after the webinars that we've done in the previous races. So tonight it's Jordan's turn, and it's easily been the race that we've had most questions about recently, and rightly so. It is an amazing addition to the series. Just to sort of, go over the series. Here you can see we've got races in Guatemala, Malawi, Jordan, Kenya, and Nepal. We've been around since 2015. I think we've done 13 races now. We've done over £1.2 million of fundraising for grassroots organizations. We've directly tackled 7 of the 17 global goals across the races. We've had about over 400 people from around the world come and run on our races. And we've also seen over 2,000 local runners also join us for race day and to join in the spirit of Impact Marathon. Guatemala, we've done, I think, 3 times, Malawi twice, Kenya twice, Nepal. We're about to do our 5th edition when we get back there in 2021. Jordan is our newbie. And so before I go too far into all of the stuff about the Jordan race, this is our first year of this event. So things I say tonight do not hold against me when you arrive in Amman in May. We may have made some tweaks. We often make a lot of tweaks going into those last 2 or 3 months of the race. We were planning a lot of those this year. And so we expect to see that happen. Furthermore, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but there's been a bit of a pandemic recently. And during that time, lots of changes are happening. The ground beneath our feet, society is shifting. And so the social purpose, the goals of this mission, everything we've tried to achieve, we're adapting to that as we go. So you can expect that we'll make some tweaks along the way, but the bulk of what we're saying tonight is going to be the case. And you don't need to worry. It will just be minor tweaks here and there. So just to sort of, again, few new names on the call, and I want to just make sure that everyone knows what is an impact marathon. And the fact is that back in 2015, we saw a disconnect between travel and the communities we're traveling to, a disconnect between our running and what we're running for, and a disconnect often when we're fundraising of seeing the power of that fundraising, where the money goes, why it's so important. And this was a shame because it missed the opportunity for stories to be told, missed the opportunity for us to greater understand the impact these organizations that we've been supporting are having. And it also misses out on the opportunity for you as an individual to understand the difference that you can make in the lives of others. And we don't just do that in the one-dimensional fundraising sense. We do that in a lot of different ways in terms of what are the decisions that we can make as individuals to create the world we dreamt that we would live in as children. And that's been like a key mission of what we're trying to do. So what we often find is people come along the week and we have this incredible week together, and then we see impact runners go home and life-changing things happen thereafter. And this community has formed. 35% of impact runners have come along to another race. So if you think I want to join an impact race, and Jordan may be your first one, I'm willing to put a considerable amount of, I don't know, I wouldn't put money on it, but something invaluable that you will be joining us at another race in the future, because the community, the energy, is really extraordinary and a very unique atmosphere. It's addictive, and it has been addictive for me for 5 years. So it'll be a really super immersive experience. It always is with these races. We push things, we try things that other organizations wouldn't try, and we take you to places that no one else would normally probably take you to. And Jordan, that is definitely the case in how we've structured this week. So we're always asked this question: how do we pick our impact marathons? Why this new location? And when we're looking for a new impact marathon location, we focus on the first thing, which is, what is the social story we're going to tell? What is the reason that this race will uplift the communities? Our first value as impact marathon is empower everyone. So what that means is, how do we use a running race to empower runners, a community, a nation, a region, the world? And when we're choosing a location, we're looking at what is it in that location that will be empowering for our runners? What is it that will be empowering for the communities? And what is the social story? What is the social purpose of us being there? And last October, we launched Jordan Impact Marathon, the first new race in 3 years. And I think even at the time, why Jordan and why now? In truth, we've been talking, planning, and discussing a race in Jordan since our inception in 2015. It's always been the plan, but it was catalyzed when one of our advisors created a relationship between Impact Marathon and an organization called the MILA Network, Middle Eastern Leadership Academy. And the introduction was made. And if you've joined in any of our previous webinars or been to any of our previous races or heard about how we start our races, you'll note that most impact marathons begin with me landing with a backpack and walking around, meeting as many people as possible, knocking on doors, and working my way through all of the different options that we can have as a race, and looking at how do we capture the impact marathon spirit here. Because of 2 years, or these 3 years of not launching a new race and delivering the 13 races around the world and the millions of pounds of fundraising raised, we've built up a really strong reputation. And then when we combined that with the incredible network that Mila brought, when I flew out, we met with an entirely different way of doing things to usual. And straight away, we've been able to work with amazing people, organizations who understood this concept of the concept and the platform of which we're trying to build. And they really built on it. So we've always said that Impact Marathon is a platform. Different people use it in different ways, from you, the runners, who all have different motivations and reasons, some very personal, for joining us on the experience, to our impact partnered charities who benefit from the fundraising, but also use it as a storytelling platform, as a way of raising awareness about the work that they're doing, to the ability of a unique tourism story for the tourism board, which is exactly what happened in Jordan. And they really got behind it and started to work and sponsor the race to help us build out something which would be a great way of telling a unique angle on Jordan and the Jordanian story. And we thought with Jordan, we can do something really different. We've always seen a Middle East race as an essential part of the series. It's a region with culture and history that hits our headlines for a lot of negative reasons. And when you see that Jordan does border with Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Israel, it would be remiss of us not to mention the troubles that surround the nation. But Jordan has always had an open door to the refugees from those conflicts, and has remained separate and safe with a proud and intense culture and a very different political setup and system. It's a multi-religion country, and it's not a country that has vast oil wealth and such things that are famous in the region. It doesn't fall into the opulence cliches that we potentially would associate with the region. So we're setting out to tell a unique story of the Middle East, one rooted in an understanding of the communities and a passion for the untold story, which I guess are two hallmarks of the Impact Marathon experience. However, practically, we also have to look at some stuff, and we have three key elements that we are looking for. One is what I said before: what's the social reason for being there? What's the impact marathon? The second, how will we accommodate everybody? How will we do the travel side of this experience? And thirdly, is there an awesome trail running route? Obviously, that is a key one that we want to talk about. And that's the three that we're going to cover today. And so I guess let's start with the first one, which is, what is the social reason for being in Jordan? I'm just going to grab a quick gulp. So you'll see on the screen, we have the 17 global goals. We're now 5 years, just literally over 5 years into the timeframe laid out by the UN when they announced their 15 years, the Sustainable Development Goals for the next 15 years, the most important things that we as a species need to achieve on our planet. And each impact marathon has focused on at least one of them. In Jordan, there is one goal that stands out, but the knock-on impact of achieving that global goal will create impact across many of the other goals. They are all inherently interlinked, and we've seen this again across all of our races. Now, Jordan is the second most water scarce country in the world. The country's renewable water supply currently only meets about half of the population's water demands. And with the groundwater itself being used up at twice as quickly as it can be replenished by the earth. That is coupled by a high population growth, and more pertinently, the influx of refugees from the regional conflicts that put a strain on the diminishing and already diminished water supply of the region. It doesn't take long, if you look at this picture here, to see this is, it doesn't take much to look on the weather forecast to know this is a very hot place, but it doesn't have natural water supplies that are nearly enough to fund to fuel the population and to fuel Jordan. When we started, as I said, we started with the Mila Network, and Middle Eastern Leadership Academy basically has leaders across sectors, across the region, but we're working with the Jordanian chapter in this regard. And we began our search for what would our impact project be. And we started with an organization we were introduced to called NOWA. NOWA is actually part of the Crown Prince Foundation. And so they've been able to, and what NOWA does is vet projects from across the whole country on our behalf to fit our goals and what we're trying to find in terms of an untold story and finding a solution that we can fundraise for, which has potentially exponential impact. To have that kind of support from the start is amazing and really kind of adds up to why this is such a powerful race and why we as a team are really excited about it. Across all the discussion, as I said, water came up time and time again. And I'm a politics graduate from Newcastle University. And I remember very clearly having a module in water politics where we were looking at the problems and the potential displacement of people, the potential wars that can come out through nations trying to secure their water future. This is a massive thing that challenged facing the geopolitical world. But in this regard, we're going to be looking at it from a grassroots community level. That's what we're looking at it from. So Jordan has faced the challenge of water conservation for a long time, but it has also opened its doors to the refugees. So there's been a lot of work in terms of there's investment going into infrastructure, desalination plants, these types of things that tap into more water supplies. That's not always the most sustainable solution. We need to find ways to lower water consumption globally, but let's talk about it from the Jordan perspective. We need to work out how to do more with less, and particularly in food production. So it's at this point that we can focus on one of the most exciting projects we've ever had with Impact Marathon Series, because now we're introduced us to a program called Greening the Desert. And it has already created ripples around the world in terms of what they've managed to do with their homestead and the impact that it can have in all our lives and not just communities that live in particularly hot places. So this is a picture of the project. We're talking about a place which regularly has 50 degrees Celsius heat. It has as little rainfall as you'll find pretty much anywhere on Earth. When it comes to growing things, when it comes to growing anything, this is as challenging a place as you could find. And an Australian man called Jeff Lawton wanted to work out where is the most challenging place I can show my methods. And he found this little part of Jordan. And Jeff Lawton is the godfather, I guess, the grandfather, I don't know how one to describe it, but he is the man when it comes to permaculture. Permaculture, we won't go into the details of here. It's come up in a number of the impact marathon races. But in short, permaculture is looking at all of the solutions that nature offers us to solve the problems that we're facing. A good example would be, this is one I always use, which is rather than using insecticide, permaculture would suggest putting strong smelling plants and flowers nearby that attract the insects away from your crops so they won't eat your crops. Or instead of letting shower water run away completely, capture it, filter it through the reeds that you filter it through reeds, which naturally filter out the nastiness in the water from your shower and the chemicals that come from your shower gel, and then you can use that water across the homestead. Or plant a banana tree by the wastewater coming from your shower. Banana trees really love the grey water that comes from there, and they flourish off it where other plants don't, and they clean out the water. So there's a lot of different practices. The answers that we're looking for are all around us, and what Jeff has done, and all of the people that have come to Green in the Desert project beforehand, have created this green oasis in the middle of the Jordanian desert. This is actually in the north of the country, just north of the Dead Sea, about an hour and a half outside of Amman. So it's not down in the south. We'll be running the race. We'll start the week in Amman, and then we'll move here to this project here, and we'll be spending a couple of days here. And the reason this is a really great project, and I use the example of water all the way through this, is that if we want to do more with less, we need to be looking at natural solutions to that. And that is what Jeff has done. And his team, Hayal and his wife, Nadia, they've all been working on these ideas whereby you can take what they're learning in this homestead that you see in front of you and taking it all around the community. And that's where this is really exciting. They've created these home gardens, and to cut it and keep it simple, the home gardens are water tanks that they are looking to reuse, and basically creating a layering system. You're able to grow a vast amount of crops from a small amount of area, and most importantly, with a tiny, tiny amount of water. And one of these home gardens can produce up to 40 kilograms of tomatoes in a year, which is more than most families would need. So they devised this system of reusing water tanks, layering them, barely any water, growing more food than the family is able to eat. And what is amazing is also there's so many different levels to this project, and I kind of want to go into all the details here, but I know that Bethany will be, just a quick point of order. I didn't do this at the beginning. Bethany and Holly are on here. If you've got questions, ask away. They will answer them, and any questions remaining at the end that they can't answer or they think will be powerful for the whole group to listen to, they will message me with those, and I will answer them in the Q&A at the end. So Holly and Bethany are on here for you to ask questions away. I tend not to stop as I go through, but do ask the questions, and as I say, we'll come back around. There we go, question coming in there, I think, and we'll come back around at the end, and we will be talking through those. So anyway, so Bethany is now telling me off for talking too much about her, and I'm sure want me to get back onto topic. So the children are taught how to grow the crops. So this starts in the schools. It starts with the children. They're taught how to grow the crops. The women and the mothers are then able to generate income from selling their excess. And they manage the home garden. So each family around the community grows different crops, and a community market can form. It's been massively successful with some of the families now having like multiple tanks, generating money to send kids to school. One lady has also recently installed air conditioning in her house with the funds that she's making from that. That's what she wanted to do, was raise enough money that she wouldn't have to have so much heat all the time. We're in the middle of the desert. We're growing more food than families can eat. We've got a community market, like a farmer's market, that's building now within the town. And that's what makes this ludicrous. What I also love is what I said at the beginning, when it comes to those global goals. Yes, we're talking about clean water and sanitation. This program reduces water consumption so we can do more with less. It also hits life on land, how we connect and manage our land. It also hits climate change, less need to import crops and food. The community can be self-sufficient. It also improves decent work and economic growth, another of the sustainable development goals. The home gardens create income. gender equality. It's the women that are driving this program and benefiting from this program. It also hits hunger when it comes to diversity of diet and the freshness of the food, and making sure that the children and the families are able to eat not only consistently and well, but also grow beautiful, nutritious food that really is fueling their bodies and their minds. And also quality education. The programs start in the school, and by teaching children how to tend their plants, we're growing children up in a way that they see the world in terms of community and sustainability within the community, in terms of techniques within it. So this is one of those projects that on the face of it, sometimes it can be a bit hard to get your head around, but the more you dig, the more you've got, it's a nice analogy for permaculture, more you dig, the more you understand, the more it comes alive. And that's what I think is really exciting about the 2 days we're going to be spending there. In terms of the fundraising is going to deliberately to increase the amount of home gardens around not only this community, but actually they're now looking to expand it into other communities. So that's what I mean when we talk about finding things that can have an exponential blueprint. What we can prove in these early days of the project can then be transitioned all over the country to create more community home gardens and more sustainability within the system, and creating that opportunity to grow food in an easy way without overusing water. In terms of the fundraising, that's a question that comes up all the time. We really want you to engage with the fundraising. And the reason we do that is the more that you can engage with the fundraising, not the more that you fundraise, but the more you can engage with the fundraising, the more that this experience comes alive, because you can see, feel, and understand the difference that's made. We support with fundraising. It can sometimes be a bit of a scary thing for people. There's loads of ways to do it that don't just involve going around cap in hand to your friends and family, but also you can do lots of things within the office. There's loads of different ways to fundraise, and there's also other things you can do around it. We never want it to be a barrier to you coming on the trip. That's why we don't set some really strict individual targets, but we will have a group target that we want everyone to be building and supporting and growing up towards. So yeah, that's I guess in a nutshell. I'm way over time. Wow. Is Jordan impact side of the marathon. Now, as we're traveling down the country towards Wadi Rum, which is the desert that we're going to be running in the south of the country, we go past somewhere kind of, oh no, there we go. We go past somewhere kind of cool. And we would never normally do this on an impact marathon. We never normally go for a tourist kind of place. This isn't really what we're about. We're about seeing the country in a unique way. But after 2 days of working in what will be reasonably hot conditions, we want to give you guys an opportunity to see somewhere that is one of the 7 wonders of the modern world and is truly spectacular. We will be doing it in a unique impact way. So I won't go into too much detail there, but we're working on ways to make it slightly different, to take you to angles and places that you would never normally get to go if you're on a normal tour there. So we're working on some plans to make it special, but we will be spending the Thursday. So just to clarify, Monday will be in Amman, Tuesday, Wednesday will be at Green in the Desert. Thursday, we drive past Petra and we stop, and we'll be going in and spending time there before we head down that evening, hopefully in time for sunset. But if you're enjoying Petra, then we'll stay there a bit longer, and we'll be heading down to Wadi Rum from there. So that's something that's spectacular. We didn't really want to put it in. I have to say I fought against it, but it's just such an amazing opportunity to spend time in one of the most beautiful, most spectacular places you could ever visit. And we wanted to give you guys a treat. Anybody who comes on the race for the first time is a hero. This is a first-year event in Jordan, and you guys are what make that event happen. So we wanted to treat you to something special, and we started to have that conversation with the Jordan Tourism Board for them to help us make it possible. And so that's a really exciting part of what we're going to do. Next is the Athletes Village. So we're on to point 2 now, which is how do we accommodate the logistics, the planning, all of these things. And I'll take another slurp while I rejig. So much like Kenya, for those of you on the Kenya call, this is one where we have a traveling Athletes Village, in terms that we have Amman, we have the Green in the Desert, and we have Wadi Rum. The uniqueness and specialness of our Athlete Village really bonds everyone together, both in nature and by design. It's something we're really proud of in terms of this community. When we say 35% of impact runners have come back, the reason we say that is because, the reason it's because it's true. The reason it happens is because of the unique bonds that form throughout that week. And the Athletes Village is a massive part of that. This is a trip for the more adventurous people. This is not a 5-star luxury tour. No one is going to be expecting that. We look for certain things that are base level. We can't always guarantee things like electricity and hot water, not that you necessarily need it when you're in a desert, but we can't guarantee all of those things all of the time. But at a basic level, with many of our races being in extreme environments and lying outside most comfort zones, we have to have it safe and sanitary. We need to ensure basics are provided to have a home place that you feel safe and comfortable and can relax in. We want you to sleep well. We want you to eat well, and we want you to keep as clean as possible. It's not always fully possible, but as clean as possible. And in this day and age, with all of the things going on, there'll be quite a few extra precautions around hygiene. And obviously we'll be assessing that throughout the year and building up to it to make sure that whatever the state of affairs is, that we're able to put the event on safely from a COVID perspective. Once you've cleared out those basic things, every athlete's village and Impact Marathon looks entirely different. As I said, the first night is going to be in a hotel in Amman, and then onto the Green in the Desert project, which will see us living within the community, both within the homestead, and for the first time, potentially some homestays. We'll be staying all around there in the community. It will be basic. I imagine that one will be the most basic that we will have. Well, it definitely will be the most basic we'll have on the trip. But again, with the different packages, you'll get slightly different levels of accommodation throughout the week. And within the community, we'll have something really different. I'm quite excited for that one. That's a step into the unknown a little bit for Impact in terms of how we're going to do it. But we'll always be working together. We'll always be eating together, but we may have people around the community and a bit more engagement in the actual community in which we're living. And that's pretty exciting. So after we've done the 2 days there, as I said, we drop off in Petra, and then we head on for Wadi Rum. We'll arrive there, as I said, either for sunset or shortly after sunset on the Thursday, and you'll be staying in one place now until your aching legs awake you on the Sunday morning. You'll be living in a Bedouin campsite in the middle of the Wadi Rum. It's a dark sky area, so the stars are something really special. And we'll have campfires and nights around the campfire, chatting away, bubbling away. The energy, the atmosphere of getting to know the Impact runners is really, really amazing. In terms of level of accommodation, one of the things that's changed a little bit in the last few months is that the campsites that we were talking to, some have actually taken this opportunity, this downtime for them to renovate. So lots of things are changing on the ground that we haven't been out there to kind of get a good look at yet, but rest assured there'll be a number of different styles, mixture of tents, some ensuite, some made out of goat hair, some might have panoramic domes with views of the sky in the evenings. There may be some even more quirky and interesting styles of some of the places we're looking at. What I would say is that they all have electricity. You can probably kiss Wi-Fi goodbye. And bluntly, if you're staying in the middle of the desert, who needs Wi-Fi? We just want to go and just enjoy this incredible experience. All of the changes are quite exciting, and we're really excited to see what's coming out of this. We've got the 4 packages, which I'll come on to later. Pasha is our top level package, Summit Camp, Base Camp, and Bring Your Own Tent. All of those will be, as I said, they all hit that basic level of cleanliness. They all hit that basic level of quality of good night's sleep and all those things. But there'll be slight changes in each one that are appropriate to the different prices that we have. Thursday night, you're there, you wake up on Friday morning, that's all your day now. The Impact team disappears off to set up a race day, and you'll have the whole of Friday to do whatever you want. We may have some rock climbing options, some hiking, or I think will be most popular the day before a race. You'll simply jump in the back of one of the pickup trucks that the Bedouin locals drive around, and they'll take you on a tour of some of the amazing sites of Wadi Rum. You choose what you want, and you'll pay for. That's the one day where you're kind of on your own when it comes to it. We'll have a number of options. You sign up, and you'll pay the people for each of those different events that you might want to do. Entirely free day. You choose your lunch. All of those things taken care of, and then in the evening you'll gather. We'll have a big meal and a race briefing the night before. And then next morning you wake up ready for race day. So the Friday is your day, and if you just want to lie back in the campsite and chill, that's also totally okay. It's over to you. That does bring us on a little bit onto food. I have to say, I am so excited to have this event for the food. I can't tell you how incredible Jordanian hospitality is in general. But the food is outrageous. There's a saying of that, even when you're full, you can still always eat 40 more bites of food. And that, I think, sums up what it's like to eat in Jordan. When we took the ambassadors out there in December, I swear we didn't. Oh, it was amazing. I can't even describe it. You know, it's little things like Jordan's famous for its dates, the most sweetest, most beautiful dates. Hummus, obviously, I'm as a Greek man, I really appreciate a good hummus. Expect lots of fresh bread. There's fairly rice-based kebab-style food, but I'm not talking about the kebabs that you pick up on Manor House on the way home from a night out. I'm talking about the most beautiful, succulent food. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. In line with the Green World program that Impact has, we also, and especially because of the work we're doing Green in the Desert, obviously that Green in the Desert food will all be locally sourced within that community, which will be really special. We're now changing a bit how we do food at Impact Marathons. We released this Green World program a couple of months ago. We'll link to it in the email we send you after this, so you can see it. But basically, one thing that we're really keen to do is engage people more with where our food comes from, why it is, what's the story behind the food. So our menus are going to be a lot more engaging than just, cool, let's all eat loads of rice, although there will be loads of rice. It will possibly be largely vegetarian, but also if there is meat, it's locally sourced, we know where it's coming from, and we're just tracking everything a lot more from a sustainability perspective, but also an understanding and a connection perspective. And we really want to go above and beyond on that. If you're vegetarian, vegan, any dietary requirements, just tell us in advance. We'll make sure it's okay. That won't be a problem. I can't think of anything that we wouldn't be able to solve. We've had all sorts of things over the last 5 years. We pride ourselves on not just doing the bare minimum of terms of, cool, I'm vegan, therefore, you know, here's some bread. We're also looking at what makes the food special for whatever dietary requirement you are, and so you don't miss out on that experience. So that is the Impact Week. You got to Friday night, you've eaten brilliantly, you've had an incredible week of projects and engagement. You've had this amazing time with all the other Impact runners, and we've gotten to know you really, really well. And that's what makes the next day so unique. That's Petra. There we go. Impact marathons are not normal races. It's hard to describe it to people who've never been. But on that Friday night, you'll be nervous as you are before any race. But you'll be already have probably through the training runs in the week picked out who you're going to run next to. It's a victory lap. What's being achieved over this period of time is so much more than just a race. And so it's not a normal race, it's a celebration. And we call it running together with others for others. And we'll have a lot of Jordanian runners coming down to join for race day. And in all of this, we know that after the week that you have, when you get to run anywhere, when you get to run with people, it doesn't matter if it's on the South Bank, if London, or through the Wadi Rum Desert, there's something really special and remarkable about joining a group of motivated, positive, energized global citizens to run together with others for others. However, we might as well make it iconic. We might as well make it challenging, and we might as well try and make sure it tells a story. And this is, really cool place to run, as you can see from this photo that we took back in December. When I first went to Jordan, I was being told Wadi Rum, you got to do the race in Wadi Rum. And every time I was told it, the more I sort of kicked back, was like, no, I want to find somewhere else. And so I reviewed 3 places while I was out there. One of the Mila Network facilitators was a guy called Motaz Mukaimer. And Motaz and I went on a mission up and down the country on what was a very long day, checking out all the different places where he could potentially host the race. And there's some spectacular things. Wadi Rum was the last place on the list, and we got there about an hour before the sunset. I was sitting in the back of the pickup truck as we entered the desert, and it picked itself. It was so easy to make the decision because I knew that I get emotional thinking about it because I know how exciting it's going to be to everybody who's going to run there. In terms of the route, it's a desert. So it's not as winding as the other impact routes. We're not talking about trails going up and down. It's not going to be super, super complex. We've been plotting a number of options, but basically whichever way you go, left, right, east, west, circles, laps, whatever it is, and we're going to talk about heat, sand, and surreal surroundings. Now, when I say surreal, I mean it. You'll be running through the place where they filmed Star Wars, The Martian, Transformers. So when we talk about the Guatemala race that happens on the volcano and the sort of lunar landscape, it's like running on the moon going through this lava field. This is like being on a totally different planet. All right. If they filmed The Martian, and I think they filmed a lot. Lawrence of Radio obviously was filmed there as well. So it's like this is a place that is familiar and incredible and amazing and beautiful all in one go. As ever, with an impact marathon, 10 kilometer, 21 kilometer, 42 kilometer courses are available. They will all overlap as much as possible. This is not a normal race. We want you running together. We want to try it. The 42 kilometer will likely be 2 loops, and we will set you off at different times so you can then end up all finishing in a similar kind of space of time. That's the way we like to do it. We don't want you starting together. We want you finishing together. We want you running together through those hard yards, the last ones. The 42 kilometer, for instance, will start early, and I mean really early. We're going to start it before the sun rises, for obvious heat-based reasons. So you'll likely be starting with head torches and then getting the best sunrise you've ever had as you're running through the desert. It will be the heat will be building into the 30s. That's Celsius for the record. Through the work you're doing the week leading up, you'll be doing training runs leading up. You'll have some acclimatization to what it's going to be like. But as the heat builds, as you enter sort of 20, 30, 40 kilometers into your run, there's not a lot that we can say that is going to be like, this is going to be lovely. It's going to be brutal. It is going to be the hardest race of your life. It's also going to be the most amazing race of your life. And you're going to treasure every single step of it. And that's what we love about it. And through that challenge, through that experience, through that heat, through all of those things, you'll be surrounded by the impact runners. You'll be surrounded by Jordanian runners. You'll be surrounded by the impact team. And we really do care about you not only safely getting home, but really cherishing the experience. And you're going to love every step. And after the week we've had, just if you relax, see it as a victory lap, you're going to be able to have a spectacular day out there. I have been asked by Richard, who joined us in the Guatemala race. He wants me to convince him about the sand. There is a lot of sand. Let's just call that what it is. There's a lot of sand. But it's not as mental as you think. Testing out the route, it takes you a few kilometers basically to work out how to spot the harder sand and the softer sand. So you'll begin to start to pick a line. You may weave a little bit, adding a couple of extra kilometers. No, not that far, but you'll find that you'll spot where the sand is hot and sand is hard. And through the build up to that, you'll have been able to test out a bit of the sand running in any way in the day before on the Friday morning. We'll go out for a very, very short acclimatizing run. So you'll pick that. There are sections that are deeper sand, and in those sections, your calves and your quads will like build up with lactic and scream. And just at the point where they're really screaming, it usually just ends and you're back onto the hard sand and you're doing okay. We were clocking out in December, which is lower heat for sure. But in terms of the actual running conditions underfoot, we were as a team clocking out sub 4 hour kind of splits in terms of doing that 21K we did that day. So it is possible to build it. I mean, by an impact marathon standard, it's extraordinarily flat. There's no 2,000 meters of elevation on this one, at least. So you'll find that it can be tough in some areas, but it's not as crazy as it could be if we were running. You know, those of you who've done the Malawi beach, that is brutal. 2 kilometers in that Malawi beach and you're screaming. I wouldn't say like it's going to be like 42 kilometers of that 2 kilometer of Malawi beach, but it is going to be tough. We've always wanted our races to be tough. We don't want you thinking about a personal best. We don't want you pushing yourselves to the point of this. We want you to just go out there and enjoy the experience. You're not going to get a personal best, but you are going to have the greatest running experience you've ever had. So if you're a novice runner, and we do get novice runners, I think a lot of people don't realize this. We have a lot of people who are running their first marathon, this is the impact marathon. This is what we're about, getting everyone running together. If you're a novice runner, it's brutal, but it's accessible. If you're an experienced runner, we know that you'll probably be pushing yourself. It's going to be as brutal as you make it. And as always, it's about everything we're running for and the reasons we're running. And just that experience, especially after the year we've had, where running in a desert does sound really appealing now. To go out there and do something that is truly, truly remarkable and something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Within all of this, we are trying to find some sand dunes to get you up and over just for fun. How to prepare. I've made a few notes here on how to prepare. I mean, I always say this with impact marathons, don't overthink it. Don't over worry it. If you're getting into marathon shape, then you're going to be able to complete impact marathon courses without needing to significantly change your plans. However, one thing I would say is really think about your hydration plans for this race. This is not a race where you're going to take, when you want to wing it when it comes to hydration. Find your favorite hydration salt. Test out those things. Do anything give you a gammy tummy? What are the things that you need to do to make sure that you've got the right nutrition and hydration on race day? Plan that out. Plan that out and bring it with you, because we can't supply all of the different brands of training salts. Okay, you need to bring it with you and carry it with you. Okay, if you're going to do, make sure you've got your hydration plan worked out. When it comes to preparing for the sand, obviously, if anywhere you find sand, go for it. If you're near a beach, you're good to go. Find hills. It's the same level of kind of pushing yourself through that. If you don't have too many hills, but you cycle or you can get on a stationary bike, put it in a heavy gear. Drive it. Get yourself used to pushing through that kind of thing. That resistance. For me, I think when it comes to the heat as well, before I go on to the next bit, yes, you could put on some extra layers. Make sure you're going out there if it's a hot day. As we build up to it, if there's a hot day, go out there, run it. Don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. Just get used to it. Just acclimatize it gently. Don't go out and try and beat your personal best when it's 30 degrees out in London and you're running around Hyde Park. No, just go out there and try and just get used to that. Can I do 3-4K at marathon pace in this heat? That kind of thing. Just don't overthink it, but just incorporate different things into your routine. And I think that's a really important part when it comes to the mental game. If you normally run past that set of stairs, run up it. Add those little things into your program that scare you a little bit. They give you an opportunity to overcome something as you go into running it. Because then once you got into that habit of overcoming, once you got into that habit where everything sounds like, yeah, I do that. I'm the person who runs the extra steps. Then when it comes to race day, you can go, cool. I'm the person. I have overcome all those little things throughout this year, and this is part of the journey. We'll be providing more advice, and we're working with some coaches now to be able to give sort of more specific training routines. We do have coaches who've run a few impact marathons who'll be able to sort of really create more bespoke stuff. If you want to go that deep with a coach and create a package with them, that's totally recommended and fine. We'll also give you our own pointers throughout the year as well. When it comes to signposting and getting lost, obviously it's a desert. We don't have, as said, many turns, but we'll be having flags that you'll be able to see from one from the other. We'll have water points every 3 to 5 kilometers. There'll be plenty of water, don't worry. Obligatory kit wise, we would say, I've actually reread this note. You probably don't need a waterproof, truthfully. Hydration vest with a minimum of 1 liter ability to carry it, or carry 1 liter in some way, shape or form. This is not an essential race to have trail shoes, but I ran it in trail shoes. I ran it in the Salomon S Lab Ultras and was absolutely loved it. It was so comfortable running in those. Road shoes wouldn't be a disaster on this course either. And if you're doing the 42, I imagine you'll be running with a head torch. We'll test out nearest to the time. I would recommend gaiters. Again, Salomon do a good pair of gaiters that you can get. That protects you. If sand gets into your shoe when you're running a 42 kilometer, welcome to Blister Town. You're going to stay there for quite some time. So yeah, I would recommend gaiters. And as I said, most important thing is make sure you've got, I would say carrying hydration vest in this race is really important. With the heat, think about if you haven't got a hydration vest, you're looking to purchase one. Have a chat. We can talk through the different options. Lighter weight, the better. Obviously, you don't want one that's really heavy, or one that's quite clingy and stuff like that. So think about these things. You want one that's going to be good in the heat. Again, I can recommend all sorts of different ones. From the Salomon S Lab range is really strong for that. But we can talk about that, and you can just message me directly on that. Just on this duty of care. I chose this picture because it's people in a pickup truck, which we will have many of around and about on race day. So we'll have the pickup trucks. around the course. We will also, mainly to capture amazing footage, but also it's a really good way of monitoring a course. We'll have drones up in the sky that we'll be keeping monitoring on. So if you're going too far, of course, one of our drone operators, I'm sure, will spot you. And most importantly, we have the XR medics. I always say this at every single impact race. You are not a number. You're not 12x on X. X is not a number. Come on, Nick, you're better than this. Think of a random number, Nick. 2735. You are not 2735. You are someone that we get to know through the week. You are someone that we will know really well throughout this experience. And it matters to us that you don't just get home safe, but that you have a spectacular time. That's why we work with the XR medics. Put simply, the XR medics are the best race medics, adventure medics in the world. They travel to all our races. We've done every single race we've done with them. They will be with us through a lot of the week. You'll have clinics with them. So if you've read, if you're running in heat, I should take this pill, go talk to the medics. Don't just take the pill. If you've got a gammy knee and you're worried about it, go talk to the medics. If anything happens, those XR medics are there, and we know from the races that we've done, they go above and beyond, and they are amazing. They'll be out on the course at most of the major checkpoints. I think on this one, we're planning to have one in a roaming vehicle going around as well. And so we've got those guys in an incredible resource, not just on race day, but throughout the week. We'll also have the Jordanian civil I can't remember the exact name, civil organization that will want to have medics there. So we'll be really well covered on that front. But also, as I said, throughout the week, we're looking after you. We're thinking about the food that you're eating. Is it right for us going through the week? But we're also making sure that we're relaxed and we're not over worrying you and over worrying anybody in terms of how we do it. Throughout, we are working with really strong operators in terms of the transport we're choosing to use for safety. We think about everything. We talk a lot with the kitchens and look at the hygiene process of the kitchens to make sure that we can, wherever possible, prevent potential travelers' tummy and these kind of things. Jordan is very well set up for travelers, but we still always have these elements of risk assessment, so we go above and beyond. We are the only organization in the world that does this. We are the only socially focused event marathon organizers in the world. We do this all year round. This is our job. We are professionals at it, and we really pride ourselves on that. And we really pride ourselves on taking that level taking it to the next level in terms of the quality of experience that we give, in terms of the uniqueness of the community, but also in terms of how we look after you and how you feel safe throughout the week. So that's something that we feel really comfortable with. I'm going to flip past this next page. We have Boltons available. I know for a fact that the Dead Sea option is going to be super popular. Imagine doing that the day after running through the desert. Oh, yes. Those they're not quite ready to launch. We're literally crossing the T's and dotting the I's on the actual makeup of that. If you get early, we'll have a one-day trip around Amman where we'll introduce you to the amazing food and history of Amman. Dead Sea, we'll have a couple of different options. And then we're working as well, which will be launched hopefully early next week, I would say, a 5-day experience Jordan. And we're taking to some kind of places that no one ever normally goes. If in all of this you're looking for something specific, let us know and we can arrange it and we can bolt on anything so that you can make this a spectacular trip. I know a lot of people are planning one big adventure next year instead of lots of smaller ones. So yeah, if you want to make Jordan your big one, let us know and we can make anything possible. Finally, and very quickly, packages. These are the packages that are available. Pasha Camp is our nicest option. You'll have the best rooms at every location. We have one room left. Okay, so if you want that one, go ahead and get it booked in tonight. I would say we've tended to find there's quite a lot of registrations in the immediate aftermath of these webinars, and we've got quite a few people on this webinar. So get clicking. Summit Camp. This is slightly below Pasha. You'll be sharing with one other. You'll be sharing in Pasha as well, for the record, but in just nice accommodations. Then Summit, you'll be sharing with one other. You do have single supplement available on top of that. Base Camp is likely to be 3 sharing. I can't confirm all of these as of today, but if you look back through the history of impact marathons, you'll see there's a real clear differences between each of them, the quality of the accommodation, the comfort, and the level of people you're sharing with. For instance, base camp may well, by the time we get to the desert, may well be shared shower and wash facilities and that type of thing. Bring your own tent, always a really popular option. We include sand. Nick's funny. He writes jokes on these screens, and but it's a really good way of getting that experience. All the food, the itinerary, everything else is always the same. This is literally about how you feel comfortable traveling and the amount that you want to travel, the amount you want to enjoy the uniqueness of the Jordanian hospitality. We have the end of our early bird pricing across our races happening on the 30th of November. So this is the absolute best time you could possibly sign up to a race, partly because obviously by the time it's 30th of November, our prices are going to go up. But also because if you're booking in 2020, you are covered by what is a super, super flexible booking policy. And that flexible booking policy is that at any point, at any time, you can switch your booking in any balance you've paid to another impact race. You can delay a year and come back next year, no questions asked. This is a pretty unique thing because, like, let's say you get injured 2 weeks before the event, you can defer to next year without losing anything in terms of deposit or anything from that perspective. And obviously you'll be protected against future price rises at that level of accommodation as well. So there's an arbitrage in there for those of you who are smart and into financial arbitrage. But the basic element of this is that those of people who have signed up throughout this period, and there's been, I guess, more than I thought would be possible when I saw all of this, the landscape changing in March. To see so many people register is amazing, and we want to honor all of you that do that. It is hugely inspiring to see people so much involved in the impact experience and saying, cool, we're going off again. We're going to be impact runners again. We're going to use running as a tool for development again. We're going to have this experience with you again, and we're going to book. And whatever happens, whether we have to change the dates because of COVID or whether you don't feel comfortable traveling, all of the different things, whether you're traveling from a country where it's uncertain what the rules will be come May, these are all things that I think we wanted to honor. So we got a super flexible booking policy for everything booked in 2020. Okay, so this is a great time to book, and the early bird pricing goes up at the end of the Black Friday weekend on the 30th of November. Oh no, on the 1st of December, you'll find the prices are up. On that note, I shall now open up messages from Bethany to see what are the key questions. And so far, all I'm seeing is someone desperately wanting to go to Jordan on the messages. But that there's nothing major coming through. So if there's any questions, ask them now, please. And oh, yeah, here we go. Here's some things. For homestaying, is there any chance to connect with the host prior to our visits? I imagine there would be. It's something that we're really going to learn a bit as we go. I had a really good call on it today. There's basically, sorry, Holly just messaged something in terms of a question that I wasn't expecting. So concentrate on one question at a time, Nick. I'm often like this. Homestay, it will be possible. It may not be possible lots of months in advance or weeks in advance, but we'll be arranging the accommodations and who's going to be staying where in the last 6 weeks in the run up to it. So I imagine we'll be able to put you in contact and you'll have that. Will there be beer, alcohol available? Different strokes for different folks. It will be. It won't be as prevalent as it has been in other impact races. We respect the culture, particularly the Bedouin culture in the desert, but there will be alcohol and beer available, but it won't be quite as open as the sunset bars have been in the past. It's not like you'll all be gathered in some room, but we just, each of the accommodations will have different rules around that, and we'll be respecting those. Would love to know what we'll be actually doing during our visit. It'd be great to put to work rather than merely looking at something. Yes, absolutely. And so the goal at the moment is that we'll be building a lot of those home gardens, and we'll be getting involved we'll be spending some time learning the permaculture. And for the record, going to learn about these things at Green in the Desert is a sort of a mecca for anybody into sustainable and regenerative farming. So we'll be doing some time actually learning there, but we'll be then putting work into the home gardens themselves and building those for the communities and distributing them amongst the community. So that's the plan for the week ahead. Any other questions coming through? I think that's it. Any other questions coming through on here on the question and answer? I can't see them because it says I have to stop sharing, which I could do if we want. You can then see my whole face. There we go. There, I get it now. Okay, awesome. Yes, we do have photographers that are very, very good at finding you new, uh, new Tinder profile pictures while you're running through the desert. If that's your thing, the Gators will definitely add to that experience. You will absolutely love them. When are we likely to get the kit list and the? We will be. Yeah, pretty soon. I would say we'll be working on it over Christmas. We're planning to get a lot of information out to you in January. So yeah, expect that you'll be starting to get more information in January, and kit list you'll have in January. Not a lot's going to change in the kit list in terms of what you need to bring from normal impact marathons. So I can't see a reason why you wouldn't have a good idea in January. As we get out there and we test the course out more in sort of April, March time, you may find that we say, oh, this would be a good idea, or we found that this is one of the top tips for running in the desert. That type of thing I think is really good. And we'll keep you up to date throughout that. We have a Facebook group where we'll add you all to once you join, and we'll all be sort of posting in there as well. So you'll be able to see that. Great. I think that is it. As I said before, this is an amazing sign to sign up to the Jordan race. Any questions you've got, nick@impactmarathon.com, message away, and I'll be really excited to talk to you about this race, as I have again tonight. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for being part of the Jordan webinar, the 101. I hope that this has answered a lot of your questions and brought to life the vision and the dream for this race. It is our most ambitious race that we've ever taken on, and we're really excited about that. And to welcome you in Amman after the year that we've all had will be a really emotional and brilliant moment for all of the Impact team, and I'm sure for you as well. So without any further questions coming through, it's really great to see the lovely messages coming through there. Thank you so much for joining.